So it's been about a year and a half since I built this 20-foot flatbed trailer, and I wanted to make an update for you guys about this thing. Overall, I'll say it works extremely well, but there are some things I would do differently. One thing is I probably would have added these lights on here in the first place, but this is a very small secondary concern. Now, in terms of actual structural and functional stuff, there's really not much that I would do differently. However, you can see that directly over the axle and the wheels, there's two thicknesses essentially of steel tubing, but that tapers off and goes down to one, which is just the main frame, and it starts at the tongue. On most heavy-duty commercially built trailers, this is one piece of tubing from behind that wheel all the way up to the very front of the tongue. So essentially you have these two layers all the way under the front of the trailer, and this is what I would recommend doing, and this is one thing I would do differently. Also, got some bad advice on some axles. This is what happens when you defer judgment and advice on things to people who should know what they're talking about but don't. Basically, those axles could only hold like 3,500 pounds a piece or something. So I ended up repurposing those, sticking them under some barbecues, and I bought these, which are 7,000 pound axles for 14,000 pounds total. Now, I didn't really build the trailer to hold 14,000 pounds. I built it to hold like 8 to 10. So really, it can still hold that due to the frame, but the axles are kind of overbuilt for it, and I'm okay with this, because, you know, I built it to hold about the maximum amount of steel. You know, if it's 10,000 pounds designed to be, and the trailer weighs now about 3,500 with these axles, that's what, like 7,500 pounds worth of steel. That's, you know, that's a lot more than I use in the average project. So yeah, I can't really complain. Other than that, if I was going to do it differently, like I said, I'd definitely run this tube clear under, and instead of using 2x2 square tube, and instead of using 2x2 square tube up under here, I probably would have used channel iron and place it a little bit closer together. I can't remember what this distance was. I think it's 2 or 3 feet. I probably would have used some 3-inch channel spread every 18 inches or so, and the thing. But you know what? Not perfect. Definitely some things I would do differently on it. However, I will say it does work. Like I said, when I built this thing, I was hoping to be able to move like 7,000 pounds worth of metal on it at an absolute most at a time, and it could totally do that quite comfortably. I could put more than that on there with the 14K axles, but at this point I feel like the rest of the trailer, like the frame and everything that we built, probably wouldn't be up to it. And quite frankly, nor should it be, because I never really built this as a 14K trailer. So yeah, there's that. One of the other things I did with this is I ended up running a replacement piece of steel tube under here and putting the lights in that. I feel like it looks a lot better. It's just an aesthetic thing. But other than the aesthetic thing, the bad advice I got on the axles and one change to the frame, there's really nothing that I would really recommend doing other than the 3-inch channel. But that doesn't really cause any problems. It's just, you know, if you're gonna have these big axles, having more pieces of channel closer together versus some small pieces of square tube spread further out would actually help this thing to take the weight that these things can carry and handle, along with using slightly thicker tube on the frame rails. But probably a little bit rambly. My advice, just build a 14K trailer from day one, use the channel, use thicker steel on the frame, and arrange lights in this fashion, as opposed to those two little dingus things which I had hanging off before, which I didn't really like too much and went back and changed. But considering this was my first real trailer project, and it does work and it does fulfill the role that I built it for, and I've been using it now for what, coming up on 2 years? It's been like 18 months or something. I'm very happy with the way it turned out. It's never failed me. It's never left me stranded. Nothing's ever broke. You know, it works really well, and as you guys can see, I came back later and added some LED lights, which I very highly recommend if there's any chance you'll ever have to load or unload stuff at night. So yeah, for whatever it's worth, this was my adventure with this trailer. Not the greatest success I've ever had on a project for the reasons which I mentioned. However, like I said, it does do what I intended it to, so even though it could do a little more and I could have made it with a few less bumps in the road, can't really complain too much. I still, you know, I built this thing for durability. I still think it'll last indefinitely, and I get lots of compliments on this thing when I actually do take it out, because most people, they're not used to seeing green trailers. So for whatever it's worth, I really hope you enjoyed this build. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe for more. Have a nice day.